We apologize for the delay in our lunch edition, and this is Evelis Jingambe welcoming you to the lunch edition of Embassy News. Coming up this afternoon, President Chakwera commends the Global Fund for its continued support in fighting malaria, tuberculosis and HIV in Malawi. Government describes the Kulamba traditional ceremony of the Chewa people as a cultural unifying factor for people of Malawi, Zambia and Mozambique. And ethnomusicologist, who is also Embassy's cultural analyst, speaks on the legacy of social cultural anthropologist who was also a priest, Father Claude Boucher. Thank you for joining us. Now to our first story. President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera says a $525 million grant that the Global Fund has approved for Malawi will consolidate gains the country has made in the fight against TB, HIV and malaria, and also strengthening and accelerating national response to the diseases which he says have hindered the country's progress for a long time. Dr. Chakwera said this at Kamuzu Palace in Lilongwe during the official launch of the Global Fund Cycle 7 for Malawi, aimed at helping the country fight against the diseases for the next 3 years.
So this grant is a testament to the Global Fund's unwavering dedication to improving health outcomes, especially in high-impact countries like Malawi. This grant will not only consolidate the gains we have made over the years, it will also strengthen and accelerate our national response to HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria. As we embark on this new phase of our partnership with the Global Fund, it is crucial to acknowledge the significant strides we've made thus far. Through previous grants, we have expanded access to essential health services, increased the availability of life-saving medications, and improved our healthcare infrastructure. With these grants, we have procured ambulances and utility vehicles, procured gas plants and modern hospital equipment such as CT scans, and we have recruited thousands of healthcare workers. I'm therefore highly indebted to the Global Fund for this support. Even so, we acknowledge that there is still a lot of work to be done.
On his part, Head of Grants Management Unit at Global Fund, Mark Eddington, has commended Malawi for the remarkable progress it has made in fighting the diseases despite facing challenges. Eddington says the Global Fund will ensure more Malawians continue to have access to ARVs, TB treatment, as well as mosquito nets for malaria prevention. The First Lady, Madam Monica Chakwera, has urged girls in the country to stay away from premarital sex and avoid child marriages for the country to achieve a fistula-free society by 2030. The First Lady was speaking at Traditional Authority Mazama in Kotagota at the commemoration of the International Fistula Day. From Kotagota, Eunice Jovu has a report.
It is a condition surrounded by stigma and discrimination as women and girls affected fail to control the passing of urine and feces. Madam Monica Chakwera, speaking at the commemoration, challenged girls to stay away from sex and avoid entering into marriages at a tender age. Madam Chakwera said the fistula condition is common among young mothers and is escalated with poverty, where access to healthy services is a challenge.
Those affected often face stigma, discrimination, and even violence challenges that extend beyond the individual to impact families and communities. This is a huge concern for our nation, but it is also preventable, like they have said. Let's work on preventing it. We should hear, the future generation should hear history that there was this disease, but we don't have it any longer.
In her remarks, Deputy Minister of Health, Halima Daudi, advised women and girls with fistula condition in the country to seek medical help, saying the country has professional medical care for fistula and women should not be left out to suffer.
In Malawi, obstetric fistula continues to be a burden, and adolescent girls and young women are the ones that are at high risk. I need not remind you of the devastating and suffering that women of obstetric fistula undergo. It is estimated that for every woman who dies from maternal death, about 30 more suffer disabling and humiliating injuries, including obstetric fistula.
And chairperson for Fistula Malawi program, Dr. Grace Chiwudzu, said 20,000 women are living with fistula in the country. Dr. Chiwudzu added that women should avoid unskilled healthy workers when giving birth to avoid this problem. Speaking area, Iceland Ambassador to Malawi, Dr. David Bianasom, pledged continued support to fistula programs in Malawi.
We believe that empowering women and girls is not only a matter of justice, but a foundation for sustainable development. Funding programs for eliminating fistula, including strengthening the quality of healthcare, is a good investment, we believe, for enhancing both gender equality and human rights. And Iceland is very pleased to be able to contribute to the program here.
Malawi has a fistula center at Bwaila Hospital in Lilongwe, where more than 350 fistula repairs are done every year. The center has also trained over 1,000 medical personnel who are working in different centers in the country. Eunice Jovu, MBC, Nkota.
Minister of Local Government, Unity and Culture, Arichard Chimwendo Banda, has described the Kulamba traditional ceremony of the Chewa people as a cultural unifying factor for Malawians, Zambians and Mozambicans. Chimwendo Banda said this at Nkaiga, the Chewa traditional headquarters in Katete district in Zambia, where he represented President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera at this year's Kulamba ceremony. Details in this report.
The cultural festival is celebrated towards the end of August every year and brings together Chewas from Malawi, Mozambique and Zambia. People from the three neighboring countries thronged Mkaiga to pay homage to their king, Kalonga Gawaundi. During this ceremony, chiefs briefed the king on the situation in their chiefdoms, highlighting major issues and developments, and also present gifts to the king. In his unifying message to the Chewa people, which was read by a representative, Kalonga Gawaundi centered on sending children to school, discouraging cultural practices that promote the spread of HIV and AIDS and other sexually transmitted diseases, and living in harmony with other tribes. In his speech, the guest of honor, who is also the president of Zambia, Hakainde Hichilema, applauded the cordial relationship that exists among the Chewas of Malawi, Mozambique and Zambia.
Our heritage, very important. I'm a traditionalist myself. I am a believer in our culture and our values myself. And we want to encourage young people in our country not to believe that when you've gone to school, to university, or indeed any other educational facility, then culture becomes less important. I condemn. Culture is the basis, the foundation of our characters. We must retain the culture and our traditions. And we want to thank all the traditional leaders in our three countries for sustaining our culture.
Speaking to MBC after the event, Minister of Local Government, Unity and Culture, Arichard Chimwendo Banda, who represented His Excellency the President, Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, at this year's festival, described Kulamba traditional ceremony of the Chewa people as a cultural unifying factor of Malawians, Zambians and Mozambicans.
This is the Chewa gathering for the three countries, Malawi, Mozambique and Zambia. It unifies the people of the three countries. But as you have seen, you have also seen that other ethnic groups comes along and enjoy with us. Malawi, Mozambique, Zambia, and including Zimbabwe, we are one people. Therefore, our people are one. They do trade, they intermarry, and because of everything happening within these countries, there is need for continued unity.
Commenting on this year's theme, the minister emphasized that ethnic groups should be in the forefront to take care for the environment to combat climate change and also use smart agriculture for food security.
The private sector here is fully involved. Here we were closer to 1 million people. Actually, in their calculation, it's over 1 million people coming together. A stretch of over 5 kilometers, people meeting everywhere. And they start these cultural festivals 3-4 days before the climax of the festival. You have seen trade happening. You have seen governments coming and speaking to their people, being open and being transparent. You have seen the president coming here and being open and being transparent. You have seen the chief talking, our king talking. And you have seen governments doing the same thing. We should learn one thing, that the private sector should be involved in promoting our culture.
Visitors from Zambia and showers from the three countries were entertained to a variety of traditional dances, including Gule Wankulu, Makanja, Mganda, Gologolo, among others.
You're watching the lunch edition of MBC News and you are with me, Evelis Chingambi. Remember, you can access all MBC digital platforms by scanning the QR code at the top right corner of your TV screen. A reminder of our top stories. President Chakwera commends the Global Fund for its continued support in fighting malaria, tuberculosis and HIV and AIDS in Malawi. Government describes the Kulamba traditional ceremony of the Chewa people as a cultural unifying factor for people of Malawi, Zambia and Mozambique. Ethnomusicologist, who is also Embassy's cultural analyst, speaks on the legacy of social-cultural anthropologist who was also a priest, Father Claude Boucher.
Big this summer with MBC and make your presence felt at the 2024 Lake of Stars Festival from 6th to 8th September 2024. All you have to do is SMS the word LOS 2024 to 364 and stand a chance to win access tickets. The more the entries, the higher the chance of winning. Terms and conditions apply. MBC, inspiring the nation.
Welcome back. First Deputy President of the Malawi Congress Party MCP, Catherine Godanihara, has urged Malawians to support Dr. Lazarus Chakwera to achieve his development agenda. Godanihara made the appeal in Rumpi during her first political rally as MCP's first Deputy President. Jackson Sijali has a report.
Speaking to people who gathered at the Rumpi Police Ground, the newly elected First Deputy President of the Malawi Congress Party MCP, who is also Speaker of Parliament, Catherine Godanihara, assured people that the Chakwera administration is committed to promoting economic independence through various initiatives. She emphasized the importance of embracing government's vision for the transformation of people's lives through trade, agriculture, infrastructure development, and other programs. Godanihara highlighted the Chakwera administration's efforts in creating economic balance, noting that it has significantly supported farmers to fetch better prices for their produce, such as tobacco and soya beans.
I came here to Rumpi to have a meeting with party supporters. We are encouraging them to vote for President Chakwera. As you listened even to the chief, from the chief himself, he said that this year's commodity prices for farm inputs has been very good, and that a lot of people in the villages are so happy that they were able to sell soya, groundnuts, tobacco, maize at very, very good prices, and they think that's the best way of alleviating the poverty of people in the villages.
Regional Chairman for North North, Kezi Msukwa, said the party has respect for democratic values and pointed out that its reputation is attracting members from other parties.
Plenty more will be coming. I've just mentioned of Luka Kandawire, who has joined us. He's in the embassy in South Africa. He was in UTM. Now he says no, he has got to work with the Malawi Congress Party. And all these that we saw here, they have joined us. There are a little bit more in the villages, but because of time, we couldn't be able to show out all of them. But this is a sign that people are happy with the way His Excellency Dr. Lazarus Chakwera is leading us. And no doubt, come 2025, Malawi Congress Party will carry the day clean and square.
Member of Parliament for Rumpi Central, Magdoish Dumba Mkandabire, outlined the party's strategies for youth empowerment, including sports and skills development.
You know, the youth play a very big role in the development of the country, and the youth are in big numbers. It is therefore important to support them in their daily lives.
During the rally, 12 individuals defected from other political parties, including DBB, UTM and Afford. Additionally, the ceremony featured the launch of the 4 million Chidumba Trophy, with Rumpi Select defeating Kabaza Football Club by 2-1. Jackson Sejali, MPC News, Rumpi.
Moving on to business news, United Civil Servants Circle has praised the Southern Region Press Club, SRPC, for organizing the establishment of a cooperative aimed at helping its members achieve financial independence. Chief Executive Officer for the Circle, Francis Waliwa, made these remarks when he officially opened a 5-day training on financial literacy and management of a cooperative for members of SRPC in Banda.
Cooperatives are very crucial in any economy because in cooperatives people have the capacity to control their own resources. They have the capacity to, or the freedom, in other words, to control their own resources, to run their own organization, and also to own, that is, raise their own capital. But what's more important is that people cooperate. 1, 2, 3, 4 people putting their resources, no matter how small the resources are, but when put together, they have something bigger. And these are the people that have a common goal. They have nobody to blame, but they want to put that together. And now, in connection to the Media Club, very much impressed to hear that the Media Club want to improve to empower themselves financially on top of their skills. Because a media guy whose financial independence is on point would actually report independently, is going to do his things without fear or favor, in other words. So it's impressive that the media from the southern region are cooperating.
On his part, SRPC President Ronald Amosi commended United Civil Servants Circle for sponsoring the training, which he said will give media personnel skills on how best to run a cooperative.
This training is coming as a major step forward because we can't mention of running a cooperative without being trained. None of us have ever run a cooperative. So this training is going to give us skills on how best we can manage this cooperative. And we know that through this training, we're going to have a very successful cooperative. Challenges might be there, but we know we're going to overcome them because we have the best expertise ever.
On a sad note, Father Claude Boucher, a social cultural anthropologist, popularly known as Ajisale, has died at Kamuzu Central Hospital in Lalangwe. He was a staunch custodian of the Malawian cultural heritage and spent well over 40 years researching into Malawian culture and languages. Waliko Makala, who is an ethnomusicologist working with Embassy as a cultural analyst, now joins us in the studio. Welcome, Waliko.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, as you have said, Father Claude Boucher Achisale, Jagomelana Achisale, he was an institution. Why I'm saying that is because he had dedicated his life towards the establishment of a cultural movement, not only in Malawi but beyond Malawi. Meaning to say that his enthusiasm and his passion was on people, research and development in its entirety, like development in its fullest context. So when we talk of culture in Malawi, we talk of the people. And who are these people? That means the people have their roots. And the roots are based on the cultural systems and indigenous knowledge systems of Malawi. So Father Boucher Achisale went deep into studying, research, and also collecting cultural materials from Malawi. And he established the Kongoni Arts and Cultural Center in Moa, and it has become like the hub of social and cultural anthropology research in this part of Africa.
Now, Waliko, you have known Father Boucher since 1987.
Yeah,
that's a long time.
Yes, he came to Malawi in 1967, but my personal and official contact with him was in the 80s. During that time, I was working with the Cultural Affairs Department, and we were set to establish the first cultural troupe, national dance troupe, Kwacha cultural troupe. So we had to go for orientation, and part of the orientation was at Moa, where we met Father Boucher, showing that he had established himself by then, by 80s. He had studied the cultural systems of Malawi. He had a large collection of cultural material. And we were there learning from what he had collected, and also to use that as our blueprint in the establishment of the cultural troupe. So since that time, I've been regular at Moa, the open day, almost all the open days at Moa I've been attending, and also talking and interacting, engaging Father Boucher in various projects. And one of the projects is on climate change and environmental preservation, where he was passionate about how people can combine cultural systems and the preservation of our environment. So he advanced the idea of people looking or taking care of the environment and culture using the cultural systems or indigenous knowledge systems. So I think we would miss him for being a wonderful soul, I would say, and a personality that one can define as someone extraordinary in terms of the field that most of us are engaged in, the ethnographical research and anthropology.
What remark he has left on the culture of Malawi, as well as you've talked about, he also left a print on the climate change, because that's also one of the issues that is impacting hugely on Malawi.
Exactly. I would say the impact is phenomenal, because when you look at him, he was a priest, a Roman Catholic priest, white fathers. So he went further beyond the sanctity of the church or his evangelism to go into African philosophy, African synod and acculturation, which is something very different according to the modern context of religion and spirituality. But he proved stereotypes wrong, that it is possible to combine the total life of people and also to use their spirituality to advance what we are supposed to foster in terms of our human development in its fullest context.
That brings me to my next question. Wasn't there a clash between the religion and the culture?
No, there's no clash, because they complement each other.
How
For
so?
us, well, it would take a lot to explain about this, but when you look at the human being, the composition of human being is not only the spirit, it is the soul and the body. And all this is like mafua atatu in our context. The philosophy of mafua atatu. Mafua atatu means we have 3 stones that are supposed to be equal. And if you have one stone that is not equal to the other, it means you cannot cook a good meal. So the body, the spirit, and the soul represents the total human being. And when you look at Father Boucher, he also represented that in his 3 hearts. He had at the Kongoni Center, where you could get the Chewa, heritage, the Yao, and the Ngoni. There are 3 hearts there, well represented and very symbolic at Timua if you go to Kongoni Arts and Center. So, your question, I think
we'll have
one
time.
Of these days we'll explain it more further. And also, but what I can say is that the legacy of Father Boucher should live on. I hope the fathers that are still there at Timua will carry on the mission, and also the custodians of our cultural heritage in Moa at Kongoni Arts and Cultural Center will keep the fire burning of Father Achisale, Achagomelana Achisale.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Waligo.
Thanks so much.
So that is Waligo Makala, who is our cultural analyst here at Embassy. And that item also concludes this edition of Embassy News. But before we leave, a reminder of our top stories. President Chakwera commends the Global Fund for its continued support in fighting malaria, tuberculosis, and HIV and AIDS in Malawi. Government describes the Kulamba traditional ceremony of the Chewa people as a cultural unifying factor for people of Malawi, Zambia, and Mozambique. Ethnomusicologist, who is also Embassy's cultural analyst, speaks on the legacy of social cultural anthropologist who was also a priest, Father Claude Boucher. For more on these and other stories, follow our online platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and also our website, embassy.mw. You can access all MBC digital platforms by scanning the QR code at the top right corner of your TV screen. You were with me, Evelis Chingambe. Thanks for watching and have a lovely afternoon.
We asked the children, how many of you brushed this morning? And this little boy, his hand didn't go up. And I said, well, why didn't you brush this morning? He said, my brother was using the toothbrush. If I'd waited for him, I would have been late for school.